I'm going to talk anyway about how Rugby League now has to, in my opinion, I've mentioned this before, the way ahead for the RFL is to go down the NFL route, because anyone that's watched the NFL in the last 2 weeks, it has been unbelievable. It has been absolutely unbelievable. And the more I look at how the season works, and for those that don't know, what are there, 8 divisions of 4 teams. The winner of every division goes through to the playoffs, plus the next best 4, 2 from each side. What it does, it means there's something on every game every week. Every game every week. And I think we need to look at that, because
But there are other things, like it's a salary cap sport.
Yeah.
So every year there is an equalisation of the field before the season starts. So if your team was rubbish last year, you know that you're starting at the same level as every other team.
Yeah.
I think there's also scarcity of fixture. That there are teams that you play within your division where you get the rivalries, but you might play teams in the playoffs so it's the first time you've ever played them. And the grand final is always 2 teams that haven't met each other that season, aren't they? Because they're in different, or they may have come across each other once,
yeah, they can meet each other
but they're in
once,
different conferences, so the likelihood is they're not going to meet for the 6th time that season.
Yeah, but what I mean is, there are teams that in our competition, our structure, would never qualify for the playoffs. So under the NFL model, can qualify for an end of season game.
How many games do they play in the NFL?
16.
Well, Mark, it's not going to work because
but that's the model. Obviously, you can play more games than that. Right, for a start, we're not going to have 32 teams. They've got 32 teams.
Right,
we don't have that many.
Right.
So it's just a way that I just look at it, and ultimately, the elite teams get to the last 4. The last 4 in the NFL are the best 4 teams in it.
Yeah.
So whatever the structure, the best teams should get through, and they do. But I just look at it, and it just... We were talking last night when the game was on. The intensity of the sport is unbelievable, and that's what we need. We need that in our game.
Yeah, but Mark, as well, as you mentioned from there, we just mentioned with the Yorkshire Cup, all the fixtures have got a purpose. They all mean something. Does that make sense? You know, and you look at the
not
crowd.
Every minute matters, surely.
But you look at the attendances of the crowd. You look at the sponsors what they make an event, because one of the big added things is quite simple, because they're going to be seeing quality and the purposeful games. I'm reading Darryl Powell's piece today in the League Express, and they've learned from the last 2 years. The training's changed a little bit. They've thought about it a little bit more. They're going to be mentally tougher, but it's not going to be the start of the season. It's going to be again the business end. So again, it's just telling you where at times I think, all right, I need to pick the best side. What I need to go. We need to know maybe from end of June to July where we need to be picking up the pressure up, because this is when the business end is. This is when press is all on. So now, this is where we need to be, where we want to be from there. So week in and week out, we don't be playing the best team every week, are they? And do you not see that in the NFL?
No, not at all. Well, the only time you'll see that is the week before the playoffs.
Well, there we go.
If they're in the playoffs and they'll leave a few out, that's the only time.
They have wild card games as well, which gives a team that still a chance to be involved in the season, even if their regular season hasn't been as good as it can be. I think the other thing they do is they leave a week between the semi-finals and the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl, yeah.
Well, again, what publicity would we get if we built in a week to build up the grand final?
Yeah, I just think it's something I really do think they need to look at. People say it's contrived, right? But I watch the NFL religiously, right? And it is. I just think there's a gap. The season ends start of February when our season kicks off. Our season really should end when their season starts in September. Or October. And you almost should be to the NFL. Oh, there's no NFL next week, but the Rugby League, you might as well watch the Rugby League because it's the same thing. I just think the game's suited for it. I really do, and I think it's a way to take it forward. It's like we said last week. Robert Elson, to me, needs to be looking at teams like New York. We can all whatever. If they're real, then we need to be looking at them. Are they going to be in? How's our game going to look in 3 years? Because if it just looks the same as it looks now, then it's a dying duck, isn't it? It's not getting anywhere. We want more teams to be able to get into the playoffs, etc.
We want different names to win the trophy.
Yeah, but that ain't going to happen.
Yeah, but also as well, fellas, and we spoke about it many, many times, where the players going to come from, where the quality players going to come from to make it a quality competition week in and week out. Where we're going to get them from?
It's interesting. A good friend of the show, Dave Allen, was around this weekend, and I'm interested in what's happened in darts, and particularly interested at the moment in what's happening in netball, because I think there are 2 sports that we can look at, and so they seem to have had a plan, and it's coming to fruition. And the darts thing is not just about the final at Alexandra Palace. It's not just about the Premier League, it's how they've got to that. They didn't sit down and start with it, they built up to it. So there are three things that they've done by talking to Dave. One is they addressed participation. So it's they who have put in the junior tour and the development tour to bring through more stars, because they realised that they had a fantastic generation of people like Phil Taylor, but what happens when they reach retirement age? So they put in an amount of money which at the time was purely speculative to set up a development tour. Now through that have come people like Michael Smith, who is going to be the next generation superstar. I think that was what they then put in an elite threshold, because if you had enough money originally, you could go on the darts tour. You could pay to be on the tour. So I could pay to go on the darts tour. My first tournament would be against Phil Taylor in the first round, and like I'd be getting 12 if I was lucky, and everybody would be going, "What the hell are we watching here?" So they needed to put in a quality threshold that said, if you're coming on our school, you have to have qualified to be in it. And then they built events. So they moved from the first round of, I think the Premier League was in places like Wolverhampton and Cannock, and now they're in major arenas in big cities. And that hasn't happened overnight. That is a real plan that somebody put in. I think the netball's really interesting at the moment, that there's a lot of coverage, both written and on visual, with the England netball team at the moment, because they had success in the Commonwealth Games. They're now in a quad series where apparently they're playing Australia, New Zealand and South Africa. I ended up watching the last 5 minutes of that last night, and I'm thinking, this is an arena in Liverpool that is absolutely jam-packed with a multicultural audience, mainly kids, cheering, getting really excited. I don't know any of the players, I don't really know the rudiments of the sport, but I get that at one end you score a basket and the other you try and defend it. And you get caught up with it because it's England. Now, the background to that is that the Vitality Super League has promoted England, but they're trading on the back of England. Well, you've got two models there that, if we're serious, Rugby League should be taking the best of those. I think it's the way. I think it's the way forward. I think it's something we need to have a look at. People say, "Oh, another restructuring debate." We're not looking now. We're looking further down the line about how this sport is going to look. Where do you want it to be? Where's it going to be played? How many people are going to be playing it, etc. Some people have told me, says you don't want to reward mediocrity. But what you have in the NFL is at the start of the year, every team genuinely thinks they can win the competition. Absolutely.
You look at our sport. Let's be fair. Well, four of them have got no chance of winning it.
The last new name on the Super League trophy was 2004.
That's what I mean. So
and we're entering the 2019
we need to have a look at that. And that, someone will say it's contrived. You're contriving it to make it meaningful. But I think once you grasp it and you work it all out and you map it all out, I think, it's like, for instance, they have little divisions, and in that division you've got to come top of your 14 division or you can't get in the playoffs. You imagine Wakey playing Cass and the winner goes has got upper hand in the playoffs. There's going to be something on that game. Same if it's Wigan Saints or whatever. And what it does do is it means that you should get different finalists each time. That's how I look at it. Anyway, I might be living in an ideal world, but you've got to look at what you're going to do.
Well, the ideal world can't be any worse than one win at the minute.